Have you ever really stopped to notice that little voice inside your head? You know, the one that's always running a commentary, narrating your life, judging everything? Well, today, we're going to dive into a pretty fascinating idea that calls that whole internal watcher into question. So let's just start with a huge question. Seriously, take a second and think about it. Who or what is the me that's looking out from behind your eyes right now, experiencing all of this? It feels like a simple question, right? But the answer, well, it might not be what you expect. All right, first up, let's get on the same page about this feeling, because we all have it, this constant sense of an internal commentator, this watcher that lives inside of us. I mean, from the time we're kids, we're basically trained to believe there's this little entity inside our heads. We picture a solid central command center, a me, that's in charge of the whole operation, peering out at the world from a safe distance. It's like there's a little person in the control room of our mind. And this watcher is never quiet, is it? It is always busy, running a constant commentary. It's comparing, it's judging. Oh, that's cool. I liked yesterday's better. I wonder what they think of me. This internal chatter is so relentless that we barely even notice it anymore. It just feels, well, normal. It's the background noise of our lives. But what if this thing that feels so natural isn't natural at all? What if it's just a habit we've picked up? A flawed way of experiencing the world that we've never really questioned? Let's go ahead and plant a little seed of doubt. Think about it like this. For thousands of years, it was just completely obvious that the sun went around the Earth. You could see it happen. It was an unexamined convention. The idea here is that our sense of an internal watcher is exactly the same, a belief that feels totally real simply because we've never thought to seriously challenge it. So let's try a little experiment right here, right now. Try to find this operator. Look inside for that solid central me that's doing all the looking. Where is it? Can you actually pin it down? Can you get a hold of it? If you really look, you probably notice something kind of strange. When you search for the watcher, you don't find a solid thing. You just find more thoughts, more feelings, more sensations. The watcher itself is just another appearance in your awareness, as temporary and fleeting as a cloud drifting through the sky. Okay, so if this watcher isn't really a solid thing, what's the big deal? Well, it turns out that holding on to this illusion has a cost. It actually puts a barrier between us and our own lives. Our source material calls this losing the encounter. So what's the encounter? It's the raw, direct, unfiltered experience of a moment. It's seeing a beautiful sunset before your mind jumps in to label it or compare it to other sunsets or thinks about pulling out your phone to take a picture. It's the experience before the commentary begins. Because that's what the observer does, right? It's like a bouncer at a club, deciding what gets in and what doesn't. It's constantly sorting and filtering reality based on its preferences. This is good, that's bad. This is worth my time, that's not. And when we do that, we miss the incredible richness of what's actually right in front of us. Okay, this brings us to the most powerful and maybe the trickiest idea in this whole thing. It's a fundamental shift in perspective that changes everything, a curious kind of inversion. So the first step is you have to stop being a separate judge of your experience. You're not a critic watching a play from the audience. You are in the play. You're part of the scene. The sounds you're hearing, the feeling of the chair you're sitting on, those aren't distractions from the moment. They are the moment. And here is the absolute crucial point. The whole perspective flips. It's no longer, I am observing the world. Instead, you realize, observation is just happening. The seeing is part of the scene. The hearing is part of the scene. And that feeling of a separate you that's doing all the observing, it just kind of dissolves into the background. So this whole inversion thing, it kind of unfolds in stages. First, that constant mental sorting and judging starts to relax its grip. And as that happens, you stop feeling so separate from everything, and you start to feel included in the scene. And finally, you have this realization that observation is simply happening, all by itself without a little boss in your head in charge of it all. Now let's be real, this can feel really weird at first. Our ego, that part of us that loves to be the separate, special me, it loves being in charge, and letting go of that job can be unsettling. But for the rest of your being, it's described as this huge relief. It's like you can finally put down this heavy weight you didn't even know you were carrying. The pressure's off. So what's the payoff for making this shift? What actually happens when we learn to let go of the observer? This is where it gets really, really good.
Here's the beautiful irony. When you stop trying so hard to control and manage and interpret your experience, your perception actually becomes sharper. It gets more acute. Without all that mental noise, you start to notice things you were totally filtering out before. The subtle shifts in the light, the quiet sounds in a room, the real texture of things.
So you can think of it as a contrast between two totally different mindsets. The observer mindset is all about effort. It says, I am arranging the world to fit my ideas. But the observing mindset, that's about effortless recognition. It says, wow, I'm just noticing the incredible way the world is already arranged.
And look, this isn't some dramatic, mystical thing where you lose yourself, where you disappear. It's so much simpler than that. It's just a small, gentle surrender. You just stop insisting from one moment to the next that you are separate from the world you are experiencing. And in that little surrender, the world starts to open up, not as something to be grabbed or controlled, but as something that's just given. So the question to leave you with is this. What might you begin to notice if you stopped looking for the watcher and simply started seeing what's already here? That, as our source so beautifully puts it, is the real focus.